nap tonight, so we weren't able to make it. So how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing perfectly good, man. And thanks for live streaming on your show, man. That means a lot to me that you would do that, so I appreciate that.
Sure, help you get some traffic.
Yeah, it's tough these days in the YouTube realm to get traffic when we're doing videos like this. So, yeah, by any means necessary, I'll do it.
Indeed.
Cool, man. So just hit it off, man. A lot of the people that follow me probably aren't really too familiar with Gematria and how it works. And I'm just kind of curious, man, how you got involved. I know I've listened to a few shows that you did with Crow, and I know you did quite a few. But I'm just curious how you got into it, when you got into it, and why.
Sure. So since your audience is completely new to this subject, Gematria, you can pronounce it either way, Gematria. It's an ancient practice that dates back to Babylon, very popular within the Hebrew language. It's the practice of coding numbers into words, and it comes from Kabbalah, which is mysticism that dates back to Babylon. In Kabbalah, there's a text. It's called the Book of Formation, and in that text, it's stated in the opening paragraph that God created the world with three forms of expression: letters, numbers, and words. And if you've read the beginning of the Bible, Genesis, God speaks the world into existence, which is related to this, Kabbalistic interpretation of how God created the world. So how did I get into this? How did I find out about this? Well, for me, I would say it started with September 11th, 2001. I noticed that what took place that day, it was no accident that there was this event, a national emergency on 9/11, September 11th. And I wasn't buying what was being sold in the news media about a man in a cave being responsible, and the buildings came down in perfect demolition form, crushing into dust as they collapsed from the two supposed plane crashes. Plus, 2 planes hit 2 buildings and 3 buildings fell at the site of the World Trade Center complex on that day. How does 2 planes take down 3 buildings in perfect demolition fashion? So I had questions like that in the beginning. I saw there was something numerological about the event, and I began studying, and I realized some things, such as in 1968, World Trade Center construction began. 911 was made the national emergency dialing code, and George W. Bush, who was the illegitimate president at the time, had graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones that year. And I thought, 1968, 33 years before 2001. I've heard a thing or two about that number 33 in Masonry. And I started looking into more things. I noticed that Flight 77 that hit the Pentagon, well, it turned out there was a whole bunch of 77s there. You had a 77-foot tall structure, which was the Pentagon. It was located on the 77th meridian, which is known as the American Meridian, which goes through Washington, D.C. The 9/11 Commission report said the plane took off at 8:20 and crashed at 9:37. If you do the math on that, that's exactly 77 minutes later, Flight 77 crashed. And so I was just looking at things like that and thinking, what in the world is going on? And I was 18 years old when September 11th happened. I was 30 when I finally figured out this thing of Gematria. So for years I was looking at the number component. I was seeing the use of numbers in news stories. For example, the Sandy Hook shooting. I was a school teacher at the time, and I was working at a private school in Washington State, not Washington, D.C., Washington State, about as far away from Connecticut as you can be within the United States. And at the private school I was working at, parents were funneling in to pick up their children early that day because they were freaked out from the shooting in the news in Connecticut at Sandy Hook. And I said to one of my coworkers that day, I was like, I have not seen people freak out about anything like this since September 11th. And I noticed in the reporting of that story, they kept, every news station that I'd watch, article I would read, they would mention that Adam Lanza was 112 pounds. And I was like, why are they reporting that the kid's 112 pounds? And just over the years, from September 11th to Sandy Hook, I noticed the injecting of news stories with numbers that didn't need to be there. And they seemed like they were numerology-oriented rituals. And sometime after Sandy Hook, I was, sharing information with people on social media about things to look into in regards to this event, and people were getting really annoyed with me and calling me all the stereotypes, conspiracy kook, and so I was like, you know what, I'm going to figure out what they're really doing here. I know that these things are rituals. I know the government's up to no good. I know this is about mind controlling the public and steering them down the agenda, building the police state, the surveillance state, taking away their rights and liberties. That's what it's always been about, from September 11th to Sandy Hook and so many other events. And I started to look for the meaning of numbers. I was just like, I'm going to figure out what this thing is about numbers, because I know there is something here. And I found the word gematria, or gematria. For years I've just said gematria because I like the way it sounds better, but for years people have told me I'm pronouncing it incorrectly and I should say gematria, but from what I understand, you really can't say it either way. Anyhow, I found this word, and it was an excerpt from the book by Manly P. Hall, who was a Mason, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, and in that book he shared two ciphers. Two ways to encode the English language with numbers, and one was just super simple. It's actually called Simple English Gematria. It's A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, E is 5, up to Z, the 26th letter, is 26. So just using the alphabetic order, turning each letter into a number. And then the other cipher is the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. So A still 1, B still 2, C still 3. Where it changes is when you get to the 10th letter, which is J, you take the numerology of 10. So the numerology of 10 is 1 plus 0 is 1. So J becomes 1. K, the 11th letter, 1 plus 1 is 2. You just make each letter a single digit number. So when you get to Z, the 26th letter, Z is not 26, it's 2 plus 6 is 8. So Z is 8. Anyhow, I learned those two ciphers, and I thought, I'm going to see if there's something here to this. And one of the first things I looked at was Sandy Hook. And I thought, I'm going to figure out why I'm going to see if there's a reason that they're saying that Adam Lanza weighs 112 pounds. And I wrote out Sandy Hook. And when I first started, I did all this by pen and paper, wrote everything down, and double checked it, made sure I was adding it up right. I'd look at my cipher on the paper. I had all my letters written out with numbers, and I wrote out Sandy Hook and added it up, and I said, oh my God, Sandy Hook equals 112. And they keep reporting that Adam Lanza weighs 112 pounds. And then I thought more about it, and I was like, God, his name's A.L., his initials, Adam Lanza, A.L. A's the first letter, L's the 12th. His initials are 112. And
that can't be coincidence.
So then I look up his birthday, right? I look up his birthday. It's April 22nd, which is the 112th day of the year. And I said, okay, 112 pounds, born on the 112th day. Sandy Hook equals 112. His initials are 112. So I was like, what could it be about 112? And then I learned that 112 is the alt dialing code to 911, so it's associated with emergencies. And then that triggered the thought in my head. I was like, God, I even said back before I understood this, the day it happened, that it was reminding me of 9/11 because the parents at the school were freaking out picking up their children early. The news story was having a real impact on them, making it so that even though it was 3,000 and some miles away, this shooting, the parents didn't feel like their children were safe in school that day. And so I started to look more at Sandy Hook, and I realized, something like this had happened in history. March 13th, 96, in the UK in Dunblane. Supposedly a gunman walked into a school and targeted first graders, just like at Sandy Hook. This gunman killed first graders, and because of that shooting, gun rights were taken away in the UK. Now, March 13th, 96, 3 plus 13 plus 96 is 112. And of course, after Sandy Hook, this big push came for legislation changes for who can own guns. And, shootings have become more rampant. Press for change has become more rampant. We're reaching a climax. This is an agenda that's still going somewhere that's not good for people who care about their rights and liberties and the Second Amendment. But anyhow, the other thing that was interesting is the Dunblane massacre. It was on the 73rd day of the year. Dunblane with the alphabetic order equals 73. Adam Lanza with the alphabetic order equals 73. And Sandy Hook Elementary School was on the 73rd meridian. So you have two groups of numbers that bring both events together, which are very similar events. Random shooting at an elementary school targeting first graders that brought about legislative changes. Of course, they were a lot more drastic in the UK. That is the event that got gun rights taken away. And I'm trying to remember, there was a very famous tennis player who's one of the world's top players right now that was supposedly a survivor of that school shooting in '96. I cannot think of his name right now, but if you look up the story, you'll find the tennis player in no time. But anyhow, this is how it all happened for me. I told you about two ciphers. The other cipher, the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. We were starting with all the 77s in Flight 77 in the Pentagon. Something I noticed right away is if you write out September 11th as words, it sums to 77. And if you write out World Trade Center with the same cipher, 77. And anyhow, it was early observations like that made me say, man, this is no coincidence. And from there, I just went to documenting and journaling, and I realized that, lo and behold, for decades, the same type of patterns have been persisting in stories, whether they be, mass shootings or suspicious deaths with celebrities. And ever since then, I've just been continuing to work at this and document the evidence and get the knowledge out there. And in the time I've been doing this, I've written a book and produced over 5,000 YouTube videos, over 25,000 blog posts. I mean, I've been working like a machine nonstop since 2013. I started this research August of 2013, so this month was the 6-year anniversary.
Very nice. Well, what is the importance to these people? I was kind of curious. I know that specifically, is it more satanic than it is maybe in good essence? And what's the importance of these numbers to these people?
Right. So again, it comes back to Kabbalah. So again, Kabbalah states that God created the world with letters, numbers, and words. And that term, the Cabal, which I'm sure you've heard before, the Cabal, the secret political faction, that term comes from Kabbalah. So if you understand and you believe this is how God operates, and something else I've learned in the time I've been doing this is there is reason to believe that. There's an organic side to this code too, which we can talk about later. But if this is your belief system and you want to play God over the masses, well, why not then behave and, do things through the same code that God does? So this is a way of playing God over the masses is what it comes down to for the Cabal. And was there another part to your question?
No, I mean, like the more organic part, you said we could get back to. I mean, I was just curious if there's good and evil that use the code.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, that was the other part. Yeah, absolutely there's good and evil. If you research Kabbalah, there's the physical model of Kabbalah is known as the tree of life. That's the positive side. There's a mirror image tree that's known as the tree of death, and it's part of something called the Klipoth, which is about essentially understanding evil and using evil. It's about the spell casting side. And think about that word in English, spell. We use that to form words, and we also use that in a magical sense. So, yeah, there absolutely is a good and evil side. Understand that Kabbalah is not something that's evil, but it's something that can be used for evil.
Yeah. Is there origins to the Anunnaki? I mean, I read a small article that maybe they had used it as well. They said it dates back, 5 to 10,000 years ago is when Gematria was first installed? The creation of civilization, or?
It goes back to the early days of, it goes back to the beginning of language. So however many thousands of years that is, I couldn't say for sure. I mean, we have to go off what we're told, but it's very old, so that can be understood.
Okay. So, I mean, that's interesting. I mean, I've watched a lot of your videos, and I know you get into sports and celebrities and stuff like that, and I've seen instances, well, I mean, we all know that the news channel, or when we watch our local news, everyone's watching the same thing. So in that essence, they're able to program us in that way using it. I mean, because I think when I first got onto you was whenever there was the Texas shooting with the cops downtown,
Oh yeah, the July 7th police massacre in Dallas.
Yes, and that's when I had gotten onto you and started watching videos like the stuff that you watch, and you got to start recording it. You have to have a DVR so you can record these things, because if you don't, then it's lost, right? And just instances where like you see the police cruiser and it has a certain number on it. You know, I mean, it's just crazy how pre-planned this is.
Indeed, I'd have to go back to that event, but that whole ritual was synced up with the police captain and everything, and of course 7-7. I forget how many officers they say died, but police officer equals 77, police department 77. It's a very special number that's used in rituals often from September 11th to that event and beyond. So, yeah, I even forgot about that. There's been so many things since then. I can't even remember what year that was. If it was 2015, maybe. So.
Yeah, it was right around there.
Mm-hmm.
So, within your research, have you been able to find? I mean, I don't know how extensive it gets for you. I mean, I know you do a lot of videos, like you said, 5,000 now, and how you have the time to even do what you do is crazy. But like, I mean, obviously you already said it was dated back to the creation of man. But I'm curious if your thoughts are that you could explain the origins of where, or you can explain the origins of the universe with Gematria. Are there any hidden codes like that, like deep secrets?
Okay, so Gematria means geometry in language. Geometry in language is what this word means. And it's related to sacred geometry. And that's another belief, that God is the master geometer, God is the master mathematician. The Masons who use this code, if you're not familiar with their symbol, it's a compass and a square with a capital G in the middle, and it stands for the Grand Architect, which is God. And so again, those instruments that are around the G are instruments of geometry, a compass and a square. And, you know, the belief is that everything came from essentially, in sacred geometry, the belief of the creation of the world is through the circle. The circle was the first shape, and all other shapes are born from the circle. For anyone who's never studied sacred geometry before, this is a hard thing to articulate without showing images. So I encourage people to look into sacred geometry. You do an hour's worth of reading on that subject, you're going to be enlightened to a lot of new things. But through the circle and replicating the circle, you can essentially create all other shapes that are in existence. So, you know, that is sort of the merger between this code and sacred geometry. And something that's interesting that everyone should know, if you write out the word geometry with the alphabetic order, it sums to 108. And if you run the alphabetic order in reverse, if you make Z1 and you count back to A as 26 and you write out geometry, it sums to 108. And there's not a lot of words that are the same forwards and backwards when you run the alphabetic order forwards and backwards. So the word geometry has perfect symmetry. And of course, for anyone who remembers geometry, symmetry is a huge concept. And with regards to it summing to 108, very special number. If you open up your science book, you'll read that from the Earth to the Sun, the distance from the Earth to the Sun, it's the diameter of 108 suns side by side, at least so we're told. And the diameter of the Sun is the diameter of 108 Earths. So 108 Earths side by side are the width of the Sun. And also they say that from the Earth to the Moon is the diameter of 108 moons. So again, a number to look up, 108, very special number. It's a number that shows up in everything from the Catholic Church to yoga, sun salutations to prayer beads, and a whole lot more. For sports fans out there, a Major League Baseball has 108 double stitches. Major League with the alphabetic order sums to 108. You know, the spring training of the year that the Cubs won the World Series, before they won it, I showed why it was the Cubs year. They were going to break the 108-year drought. Huge 108 ritual, and very special number that's used often in baseball rituals. 108. So, anyhow, that's how it comes together, I would say.
Gotcha. How do you decide? I mean, I know that there's a website where you can calculate different forms of it, correct? Of the Gematria. I mean, you said there's 2 deciphers that you use, but there's even more than that, isn't there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So for the first, like when you started watching me back, way back when with the Dallas shooting, I was primarily just using those 2 ciphers. I've lost track of time. I want to say it was around the end of 2016 that Derek built the website Gematria.com. There was a man out there in the world who found this work, and he thought, I was off my rocker and that all this stuff was a coincidence. And he had some computer skills, so rather than do things the way I was doing it, typing it out by hand, writing it out on whiteboards, he wanted to create a computer application to speed up the research time so that he could prove if this was a coincidence or not. And he found out, he's like, wow, this is actually not a coincidence. And he got passionate about this work, and he's had a YouTube channel now for a number of years. But when he came along to the research, what he wanted to do, because he heard me say in a video that there's an author, Faith Giovanni, who wrote a book called The Divine Triangle, where she really only talks about one cipher in the book, the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, which is what most numerologists consider the most pure cipher, and I would agree. Again, just like we talked about in the beginning, alphabetic order, rules of numerology. But in that book, she states that and this book was written several decades ago. In that book, she states that there's over 100 ciphers in use by different groups of people within the English language. And at the time, that was mind-blowing to me. I was like, whoa, over 100 ciphers, like what could they be? And so Derek, he went out and he started researching additional ciphers and adding them into his calculator. And he wasn't sure if any of them meant anything. But what I took to right away is when he input the alphabetic order in reverse, to me that just automatically, I was like, I better look into that one, because Aleister Crowley, who was about doing things in reverse, he was a big practitioner of this code of Gematria, and I thought, I bet you there is something going on with reverse. So based on what I'd been studying for 3 years with just looking at the alphabetic order forwards, I thought, let me try out some things with reverse and see how they line up. So for example, when I first began this research, one thing that really stood out to me was that if you just use the alphabetic order, simple English Gematria it's called, simple English Gematria, each of those three words sums to 74 when you just use the alphabetic order. So does Masonic, so does occult, so does Jewish. This practice is used within Masonry. It comes from Jewish mysticism, which is Kabbalah. It's occult, meaning it's hidden. I realized that out of the 50 states, only one summed to 74. It was Oregon, the 33rd state. And I thought that was interesting. I thought, only the 33rd state sums to 74. And it seems to be coded into so many significant things. Holidays, 74. Independence Day, 74. Our nation's birthday, 74. And I noticed that also, in light of this being a biblical code, a spiritual text, I thought it was interesting that all of these words sum to 74 just using the alphabetic order. Jesus, Messiah, cross, gospel, parables, even Lucifer, they all sum to 74 just using the alphabetic order. And what jumped out to me about the Jesus and Lucifer thing is in the King James Bible, that's the only Bible that uses the word Lucifer. And King James was a Mason. And again, Masonic 74. And Lucifer and Jesus are both referred to as the morning star. And I thought, that is really interesting. So anyway, when we learned reverse, I noticed that when you wrote out Jesus Christ, in reverse it summed to 74. And I thought, okay, that's not a coincidence. And I just started to notice how many things that I already understood the relationship with the alphabetic order forwards, when I wrote it in reverse, it also lined up. Just like geometry too, because we were already talking about the geometry and 108 thing, and then when I realized it was the same in reverse, I thought, wow, that's just too perfect. And, for example, if you run the alphabetic order forwards and backwards with the rules of numerology, all of these things sum to 47. Government, authority, White House, president, Republican, Democrat, they're all 47. And for years, I looked at that list, and I already saw the overwhelming pattern with 47 in the presidency, but it wasn't until I ran it in reverse that I just saw a few of the additional words. Hold on real quick.
You're good.
I had to think in my head real quick. So, like, for example, it's White House that's 47 in reverse. White House is 47 in reverse. So for years, I saw all the 47s. Democrats, 47 in reverse. So, I was like, that's not a coincidence that that's also 47. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse and you don't use the rules of numerology, the name DC, or the letters DC is 47. The name Trump is 47. Barack Obama took the White House at age 47. Donald Trump sat in a 47-story Hilton hotel the night of the rigged election. And so it was from studying it for so many years forwards that I was able to pick up on the meaningful patterns in reverse. And there's just so many of them. And people who come along now and who haven't been watching for me for, say, as long as somebody like you, they're like, well, maybe he's just able to do this because he's using 4 ciphers. And it's not that way at all. I mean, for several years, I demonstrated how primarily using just 1 cipher, how you could show things were scripted. But this reverse, it was such a big piece of the code, and it's really helped take things to a new level. So, and there are other ciphers beyond that. There's something known as Jewish Gematria, which is also that was the 3rd cipher I touched on years ago. If you were following me back then, sometimes I would bring in the Jewish Gematria. I learned about that through Gematrix.org, another calculator website that's been on the web for I don't even know how many years. That's based on the old sequence of the English letters when they were the Latin alphabet. And there are some other ciphers, but I primarily tell people to just stick with those 4 base ciphers, master those, use those, because if you use those 4 ciphers, you're going to be able to see through everything from the rigged news stories, the rigged elections, the rigged sports games. You branch out into the other ciphers. It can help shed some light on some things that you might be missing. But what I see happening is a lot of people will get on Gematria.com and they'll just open up every single cipher, and then they'll piece together a collage of things that don't really have any relationship with each other. And picking like, oh, this thing equals 47 in this cipher, this thing equals 47 in this cipher, this thing equals 47. I think that's bad practice, but I know, and I can vouch that when you use those 4 base ciphers, as I've come to call them, you know, you're not in the realm of coincidence using those. Some things could be coincidental, but you're absolutely using this knowledge as the cabal uses it against the people every single day.
Well, whenever they translated this gematria, from Hebrew in its original form, or whatever language started with the Sumerians, when they transferred it over to English or whatever language it is, like there were people they were taking these words into mind to make sure that these words would reflect these numbers, right?
Absolutely. The word Kabbalah is the exact same in Hebrew and English. The word Israel is the same in Hebrew and English. A lot of things are the same in Hebrew and English, so it shows that some of those values have been purposefully encoded into the English language. Yes, absolutely.
That's crazy. I mean, does it go as far to were the Chinese influenced in some way, or is it just the whole world? I mean, is it every language?
So, well, that's my shortcoming right now. And for years, I've asked people who speak other languages to investigate their own language. I've had some people over the years who speak Spanish phone in some overlaps that they noticed within Spanish and English. Again, this knowledge goes back to the original languages of the world, Sumer. So I imagine there is Gematria within other languages of the world, but I don't have any definitive answers on that right now.
I got you. So where are you right now? I mean, like, where does it? I mean, are you on the long haul? I mean, like, you're in this for the long haul, something you're going to practice for a very long time, and just keep spreading truth to everyone?
So my whole mission is to get enough people to wake up to the agenda we're living under, and to me, this knowledge, it's the best thing I've come across. It's the best tool I've come across to show people with evidence. Because I can speak about what's going on without this Gematria thing. I mean, I can explain to people the obvious lies, the purpose of the lies, where we're being taken by the powers that shouldn't be. But, you know, there's other people in the world who do that. And what I realized is I needed some evidence of how the agenda is being waged. Because for years I did do that. And so many people would just brush me off as like, oh, you know, you're too conspiracy oriented. 9/11 was done by crazy Muslims who were jealous, and, you know, Sandy Hook was just some, you know, crazy 112-pound kid. And, you know, I mean, the way people shrug off the truth and dismiss it as conspiracy theory, it just drove me nuts that I said, I'm going to figure out something to prove to people what is truly being done to help open their eyes. And I realized that in the 6 years I've been doing this, there's still some people who just shrug this right off too. They don't even think about it. But there's literally been thousands of comments over the year of people who've thanked me and said, your work finally got me to see, the forest for the trees. And then the other thing about this knowledge is I mean, honestly, this is an overstatement. I've helped people make millions of dollars off sports gambling because this is how the world of sports is rigged and scripted. And so, I mean, there's a lucrative side to this knowledge too,
Yeah, for sure. And I wanted to touch a little bit on that, maybe further on in the podcast, but I don't know if I can hold off. I mean, I'm from Kansas City. I've lived here my whole life. Been a big Chiefs fan. I mean, I do Chiefs podcasts. I mean, this will be my second.
Let's talk about it, man. Let's just do it. I want to talk so bad about what happened to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship last year.
Let's do it, man. I mean, I'm 100% for it. Where do you begin? Where does it start?
So here's an easy place. Let's just begin at the AFC Championship, since that's probably the game that's still in every Kansas City Chiefs fan's mind right now. Okay. So we knew it was a done deal that the Chiefs were going down to the Patriots. We saw a narrative like this from before even the season began. Before the season began, I told the people who follow me it was a done deal the Patriots would win the Super Bowl. And before the season began, I told them it likely would be Patriots versus Rams rematch with the Patriots winning. When I saw Aaron Donald end his holdout last year 99 days after his birthday, and he wears the number 99, and it was the 99th NFL season, and Aaron Donald with the alphabetic order equals 99, New England 99. The Patriots came into the season with 523 franchise wins, the 99th prime. Aaron Donald's birthday is May 23rd, 523, again 523, the 99th prime. I was just hammering that point home. I was showing how it had been 17 seasons since the last Rams-Patriots Super Bowl, and the loser of that game had 17 points. It was 20-37 was the score. Patriots equals 37. Back then it was the St. Louis Rams. This past year it was the Los Angeles Rams. Los Angeles also 37. But anyway, so we clued into the fact that it would probably be Patriots and Rams just before the season began after the Aaron Donald holdout. And prior to that, when I was brainstorming what the Super Bowl might be, I even had a thought that it might be the Patriots over the Redskins. I told my people it seemed like a long shot because the Redskins just didn't feel like the right team, but it could be because I saw that in the 99th NFL season, there would probably be this genocide theme. And the reason why is because the United States of America in Gematria equals 99. The United States of America was named the United States of America on September 9th, 9-9. And when you write out 13 as a word, it equals 99. Think about the nation, 13 colonies, 13 stripes. So the United States of America, 99, 99th NFL season. What could be more symbolic than a patriot, a white face on the side of the helmet, wiping out the native team, the Redskins, in the Super Bowl? So I had this thought like in July before the season began last year. And I was thinking on it, and
Alex Smith broke his leg.
Yeah, that's a huge ritual in itself. But so here's what we noticed though. Once Alex Smith broke his leg, the Redskins had no chance, right? And it was around that time that we pointed out that look at this. From the time the Patriots played the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football last year to the AFC Championship game, it was a span of 99 days, right? I said, this is it right here. The Patriots going into the Chiefs' home and beating them to go to the Super Bowl. This is your native genocide ritual. In Gematria, Arrowhead Stadium equals 99. Patrick Mahomes Jr. equals 99. Tom Brady picked up his 99th career away win for his career in that game in the AFC Championship. So it couldn't have been any more perfect 99 riddle. By the way, Redskins equals 99 too, which was part of the reason we were entertaining that thought. The last time the Redskins and Patriots had played each other in history was on the day leaving 53 days left in the year, going into the season of Super Bowl 53. But even before the Patriots went in and beat the Chiefs by the numbers in the 99 ritual, just to advance to the Super Bowl to close out the 99th NFL season. Christopher Columbus Day. Christopher Columbus Day, which is always a day where headlines come about natives protesting, remembering this day because Christopher Columbus helped genocide the natives. He murdered the natives. He journaled about how easy it was to kill and rape the natives. But on Christopher Columbus Day, if you go back and look at what happened last year on Christopher Columbus Day in the world of sports, the two native teams in baseball were eliminated from the playoffs, the Braves and the Indians, and it was Monday Night Football. The Saints wasted the Redskins 43-19. 43-19. Football equals 43 in Gematria. Saints equals 19. If you add 43 plus 19, it equals 62. The word genocide equals 62. If you go look at the baseball box score from that same day, the Braves were eliminated with a score of 6-2. And if I remember right, the Astros eliminated the Indians that day with a score of 11-3, just like how they won the 113th World Series, which was another thing we called. For people who don't know, I mean, we've called like nearly every sports championship from early to mid-season for every sport in the year that we've been doing this. We've been wrong in a few cases, but I mean, we've gotten almost all of them. It's unprecedented what we've done with calling futures in sports by understanding this knowledge in the way the games are scripted. So last year, what I hypothesized about in July, about there being this theme with the native genocide and the white patriots beating the native team, people, my trolls, they like to make fun of me because in July I said it could be the Redskins, but it was having that thought that allowed us to see months in advance that the AFC Championship should be Patriots and Chiefs, and the Patriots should beat the Chiefs in their house, as they did. And, if you looked at that game, the Chiefs, almost any time the Patriots win, they should lose, but they don't lose because the games are scripted. They get the flags, they get the phantom flags, and the players aren't on it too. I don't really want to go down that whole road. I can't stand pro sports. They're a joke to me. I saw that they were rigged as a child. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and I just used to watch the way the Blazers would lay down in the playoffs to teams they were better than. I was just like, there's just no way these games were legitimate. But anyhow, as a Chiefs fan, did you notice last year that when Patrick Mahomes, what's his name? Lynn Swann. He beat Lynn Swann's record last year, and do you remember what the headline was that also went with that game? Do you remember what happened at that specific game?
When he beat Lynn Dawson?
Lynn Dawson, there, thank you.
Yeah, you're good, man. It's all good. No, I don't recall.
His fiance's dad was in the stands, and he dropped dead in the stands.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, man, and that's what goes on in these rigged games. Like, that's not an accident. Those are rituals. This stuff goes on like clockwork. Like, people are literally being offed for these rigged games as ritual. And it goes on season after season. I've been documenting all of the people who are dying just in recent days in connection to the number 54. Just as football's gearing up and there'll be the season ending with Super Bowl 54, it's just... There's so many things that you can gain insight into. Like right now, one of the circulating stories is the former NFL player who played for the Vikings, the Jets, and the Saints, who was just found murdered with his wife in his home. And what's interesting is that he played for two teams. There's only 5 teams that have a Gematria 54 in the NFL. He played for 2 of them, the Jets and the Saints. And New Orleans, just in recent days, had the death of a news anchor, Nancy Parker, whose name equals 54. The same day that she was in the news for her death, so was the 54th governor of Louisiana. There's one other I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but... So,
to me, it seems like it doesn't have to be as complex as people think it ought to be, because as you're telling me all this information, I'm thinking, like, it's so complex, and how can they make these games, the points scored, for them to correlate with each other? And maybe it's the sacrifices that you're talking about that allows it to happen. Is that kind of how it goes, or is it so pre-planned that they have it down to where they can do that?
Let's clarify your question. Are you saying like the energy from the sacrifice, like a dark spirituality kind of way, makes it come about? Is that the question?
Well, yeah. Like with the deaths that you talk about, and I've seen so many different videos of how you correlate deaths with numbers and stuff like that. Is that how they get what they want, I guess, is what I'm trying to ask.
That's a great question, and I don't know the answer to that question. I'll say it's absolutely possible. It's something I speculate on.
It seems like the only explanation, though. I mean, like, for these people to die and for them to get what they want, that seems like a plausible explanation, because it's just so hard to get a baseball score to match up with a football score, and then 10 other things to happen to correlate with the same number. That's just like so insane. But I guess they've had thousands of years to do this, so I mean, I don't know.
Well, it's very possible. What you're asking is entirely possible. To me, the way the games are rigged and how the scores are arrived at, I think oftentimes you can see how it's done. I mean, I grew up playing a lot of baseball, and I hate watch. Baseball's gotten so gimmicky this year. It's just taken a whole new level of gimmickiness. But I think I just made up a word there. But if you're a pitcher in the major league, you have incredible talent. You have incredible control over your pitch. I can't stand when I watch an 0-2 count. Pitcher has an 0-2 count, and then he throws a meatball over the plate, and it gets jacked out of the park. It happens a lot, actually, in Major League Baseball in these days. It didn't used to. Baseball's just gotten more and more gimmicky. But I'm just like, okay, what pitcher with an 0-2 count? For people who don't know baseball, that means no balls, 2 strikes. The goal is to get 3 strikes to get the out. You got 4 balls to work with. In baseball, you want to throw a tricky pitch that the hitter thinks he can hit, but breaks into the dirt and they whiff and go out swinging. You have 4 pitches to miss with an 0-2 count. There's no way, if this is your sport, you're going to throw some meatball right over the plate to get jacked out of the park like Major League pitchers do all the time. And the people who follow my work, they watch how on the screen, they'll watch the pitch count when the balls get jacked out. And see, I got the Gematria hotline and emails, and so it's cool that I've educated a lot of people on this knowledge. Because people are like, Zach, I was watching the game tonight, and sure enough, on the 54th pitch, 0-2 count, he throws the meatball and it gets jacked out of the park. And why does it matter that it's the 54th pitch? If you write out the word baseball with the alphabetic order, it equals 54. How many outs are in a baseball game? 54 outs, right? If you turn the alphabetic order around and you run it in reverse, baseball equals 162. How many games are in a Major League Baseball season? 162. If you write out Major League Baseball with the alphabetic order, it equals 162. 2 years ago, June 3rd, 2017, on that day you had the first no-hitter of the season. It was thrown by a Florida Marlin whose name equaled 63. And the no-hitter was on June 3rd, 6-3. Major League Baseball, the small way, equals 63 as well. Also on that day, you had the record amount of grand slams for a single day for all of Major League Baseball in the history of baseball. If I remember right, there were 7 grand slams that day. That was the 154th day of the year. Grand slam, 154. And, again, just day after day, you follow the code, you see how the games are perfectly scripted. The Marlins the other day just had this big monster comeback against the Phillies. The pitcher who got credited with the win in this big comeback, his name equaled 283 with the alphabetic order. What was the date? His name equaled 238. The date was August 23rd, so 23/8, 238. Just like the guy who gets the name in the ridiculous game with this amazing comeback, which are becoming more and more commonplace in baseball. These huge comebacks late in the game. It's like nobody has a closer anymore. So, I'm just spitfiring from the top of my head. If we went through the box scores today, if we just did a real-time decode, which is what I do pretty much every day on my Patreon, just go through the scripting. We call the games in advance. We break down the scores. We laugh every single day because the exact numbers that we point out are going to be on the game are what the score is. We do that from baseball to football to basketball. It's just like, I told people a great college football pick this weekend, and there's probably a lot. I didn't put a lot of homework into college football, but I said take Florida to beat Miami, but don't take the spread. They probably won't cover. Just beat them on the money line. And the reason why is because Florida's coach was going for his 80th career win all time. Miami Hurricanes, the opponent. Florida was playing the Miami Hurricanes. Miami Hurricanes, alphabetic order and rules of numerology, our most pure cipher, equals 80. The Florida coach gets his 80th career win by beating the Miami Hurricanes. And all season like this, game after game, you just see how it's like this. One coach is facing a team who's the perfect opponent to pick up his next win or loss. And again, this is what leads me to believe that it really is scripted this way, that it is really all planned out this way. And the way it can all be possible is because of Freemasonry. Freemasonry is credited with all the American sports. The majority of these men who are coaches, who are running these schools, they are Masons. They were born into Masonry. Masons do name their children by this code. So if you know that someday your son's going to grow up and he's going to be the coach of the Florida Gators or the Miami Hurricanes or the Ohio State Buckeyes or, whatever, because I think it really is this way. I think a lot of these people are born for thrones, essentially, whether it's a coach or the President of the United States, and they are named and they are raised accordingly. And literally, season schedules are built around these people years in advance so that all of this stuff can be so perfect, so systematic season after season. And it just never fails. So,
did you call the 2015 Royals World Series?
I had the Mets in the World Series in spring training, and I was completely heckled. Wasn't that 2014? I got to think. Was it 2015?
Well, we lost in 2014, or I can't remember.
You beat the Mets. That was the 111th World Series. So New York with the alphabetic order equals 111. And in spring training that year, I put out a video why the Mets would be in the World Series. I didn't know who they were going to play. But if you go back to that World Series, the 111th World Series, I can tell you exactly how it ended. Matt Harvey, November 1st, the starter for the Mets. November 1st, 11/1, 111th World Series. New York 111. Matt Harvey was going for the complete game. He got pulled after his 111th pitch. And if you go back and watch that highlight, Hosmer came up to the plate and they ran his stats for the World Series. They showed Hosmer had a 111 batting average for the World Series. On Harvey's 111th pitch, Hosmer got a hit that drove in the first run of the game for the Royals, that began the scoring streak that put the Mets away, that eliminated the New York Mets in the 111th World Series on 11/1. And the only game the Mets won in that World Series, they won 3-9. New York, with the alphabetic order and rules numerology, equals 39. And I actually even called the score of that game because all day CNN and other news were talking about the anniversary or how in history's past at the 86 World Series, how the parachuter came down on the New York Mets field, and they were emphasizing parachute all day, and parachute equaled 39. I said, they're coding 39, New York, this is going to be a game they're going to win. Sure enough, the score is 3-9. And yeah, I mean that was my first ever sports prediction from the start of a season. Actually, was the Mets in spring training of the 111th World Series.
Wow, that's fascinating. So, who do you got this year? I mean, what in football wise, when it comes to the NFL? I mean, do you have anything going on right now?
Well, now I run this as a business, and I feel a little bit guilty about saying that, but I only charge $5 a month, and it's a great value to anyone who wants to sign up. So
cool. No, that's awesome, man. It's all good stuff, man, and it's just amazing to me. And there's a lot more that I want to learn about, and I don't know if an hour's time would even begin for me or my listeners to comprehend the complexity of Gematria and what it entails into our society. Do you see are you able to see into the future? I mean, I know that's a weird question. Is it just day to day?
No, I can't see into the future, but I can make projections on what I think is going to happen by the code. And usually when I'm off, I'm not too far off. It's like last year, September 11th, 2018, the anniversary of September 11th, there was a story circulating, coding a prophecy about the third temple, which is part of Jewish prophecy. The Zionists want to build the third temple at Temple Mount, where Al-Aqsa Mosque is. And I was saying they're coding this event for next year, August 11th, 2019. It has to do with the temple. It has to do with Temple Mount. And I said, just remember, circle the date, August 11th, 2019. Keep your eye on Temple Mount. And this year on August 11th, 2019, for people who don't know, that was Tisha B'Av, to remember the destruction of the two temples and the coming third temple. And for the Muslims, it was the Day of Sacrifice, one of their most important holy days. Temple Mount's one of their most important holy sites. Al-Aqsa Mosque, their third most important holy site. You had thousands of Muslims praying there on their holy day, and the Israeli police shot tear gas all over them this year on August 11th. And you got headlines coming out of that saying that jihad will be sworn in revenge. But the reason I was warning people about this date and this location, I was saying this is how the New World Order operates. They forecast what they're going to do through riddles to continue to build their one world order, and that involves getting people to hate each other over religion and all other things, and which everyone should understand from September 11th. And again, they were forecasting this event on the anniversary of September 11th. So it's not like I could see the future and know that, something bad was going to happen at Temple Mount on August 11, 2019. But what I could see was the riddles that they were laying down in the media, and that's exactly what they were coding. And, August 11th, it went beyond just Temple Mount. In Hong Kong, there were all these signs put up after 8/11 in Hong Kong about the protest there that said, remember 8/11 HK. H is the 8th letter, K is the 11th. For people who don't know, in Hong Kong on August 11th, the police really cracked down on the protesters, just beating them in public, shooting tear gas on them. It was the first time Hong Kong police ever shot tear gas into their subway systems. The videos are out there to see the police brutality from that day. But what's interesting about tear gas being used at Temple Mount and in Hong Kong on August 11th is tear gas equals 118 in Gematria, just like how that date's written 11/8, 118 in the majority of the world. But anyway, it's not seeing the future. It's just understanding the repetitive nature that these people work by and that they lay down riddles. And just real quick on the word riddle. Jim Carrey, the actor, he's been used in 2 different movies to introduce this knowledge. The first time he did it was as the character, the Riddler, in Batman, where he leaves riddles and letters and numbers for Batman. And then, of course, in the film The Number 23, he also briefly touches on this knowledge, but introduces it in a very confusing way.
Do you ever fear at all? If you were to actually... you have a nice subscriber base, and I'm sure YouTube demonetized you because that's what they've done to everyone, it seems like, that try and portray the truth for what it is. But if people actually started catching on, to what's actually going on, and you're able to see certain things that might happen, or see dates where things might happen, does that ever scare you that they might actually understand what they're doing?
I don't think... I'm not scared. I've already been through a lot, honestly. So for people who don't know, the mainstream media has been on to me for a while. They wrote an article about me. The USA Today wrote a full feature-length article about me January 2016 because of how much I had exposed that NFL season. In October of that NFL season, about a month into the season, I said the Super Bowl will be the Broncos over the Panthers. Von Miller will be the MVP. It'll be a tribute to Super Bowl 24, and there will be a Black Panther tribute, which ended up being the halftime show. Beyonce and the dancers got criticized for dressing up as Black Panthers. Just real quick so people can understand this, the reason I was able to call all of that in October is because of how they were syncing up that NFL shooting with all of the shootings of police officers and unarmed black men. And that year you had the St. Louis Rams doing the hands up, don't shoot, and a few other stories like that. But what I showed people is I said, look at this. If Cam Newton plays Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl, Cam Newton will become the 58th quarterback to start in a Super Bowl. And think about who Cam Newton is. He has the name Newton on his back and a Black Panther on his helmet. The Black Panther Party was established in the Bay Area, which hosted Super Bowl 50 that year, by Huey P. Newton. And in Gematria, Huey P. Newton sums to 58, just like Oakland, just like Freemasonry, just like secret society. I said it'll be too perfect. Cam Newton, the 58th QB, Super Bowl in the Bay Area, home of the Black Panthers. And then I said Von Miller, where's the number 58? Cam Newton was the top pick. Von Miller was the second pick right behind him. I said it's going to be a defensive win for the Broncos because Peyton Manning's washed up and done. He shouldn't even be in the NFL. He's thrown wounded ducks. It looks like a complete joke. It's the WWE, but worse. And I could tell you all about Andrew Luck, why he retired last night right after his hometown Houston Roughnecks get named in the XFL, who his father's the CEO of on Vince McMahon's birthday. who owns the XFL. It's just all such a joke, man. I could tell you a million things about it. But this the Super Bowl, I nailed the Super Bowl 50 riddle so hard that USA Today had to write an article making fun of me. And there's this light-skinned guy. He's on with Shannon Sharp on the Fox sports show every single day in the morning. I always forget this guy's name, but all that year he was blasting me on Twitter. I didn't care because it was all bringing traffic my way. More people were finding my work. But I had like USA Today going after me. I had some other smaller outlets go after me. I had this guy on Fox News bashing me on Twitter almost every day. And I was like, keep bashing me because my work just keeps backing itself up and you guys are just bringing more and more people here. But anyway, being made fun of by the mainstream media, anybody can search for that article. Just write USA Today, Zachary K. Hubbard. You can read it. Vice Sports did an article on me for calling out the Astros over Dodgers World Series, which we did in August of that season. We showed how it was synced up with Hurricane Harvey, and that's why Matt Harvey was the first pitcher in Houston. But anyway, so I've had the media attack me. In addition to that, I've moved since I started doing this research. I used to live in a different place. I used to get death threats in the physical mail. I'm sure they'll eventually start showing up here too. But the death threats were the first thing that were kind of creepy, receiving those. And, so it got a lot worse after that. I had a police officer stationed outside my house. He pretty much just lived there all the time. It seemed like that was his job to just stay parked there for about 8 hours a day. And he did that for several months. And one time while I was gone from my house for a short bit of time, I came home and the door was busted in and the whole house was turned upside down. All the valuables were stolen. Everything but the TV was essentially broken. And I know that the local police had something to do with that. I spent a lot of time exposing police and government and their role in all of this. And in addition to that, I had a guy start making YouTube videos in 2016. And he told me to watch out for Christmas Eve 2016. I ended up having a car crash through my house Christmas Eve 2016. Ended up being a major insurance battle. I ended up having to pay about $10,000 out of my own pocket to get my house fixed. The insurance only covered about 2/3 of the damage. Last August, I had an FBI agent show up where I live now. I moved here last summer where I live now. I had an FBI agent come here and accuse me of something I had never done. And he said he had the evidence to prove it. And I called his bluff. I said, no, you don't. You don't have the evidence to prove it because I've never done that. He said, oh, yeah, I got the evidence. And I said, okay, show it to me. And, of course, he couldn't prove any evidence. So, obviously, they just came by to give me a scare. But, yeah, there's been an element of harassment going on for... I guess I've gotten used to being harassed. Recently at my house. I had this house now vandalized, too. I haven't gotten the threats in the mail, but I had somebody show up here and do some property damage to the house. So, I mean... the whole time for doing this, there has been backlash, and it really has been severe. I lost a lot when my house was burglarized. It's embarrassing to say how much I lost. I also lost a business that I partially ran out of my house because of that event. So I've already gone through a lot, but I don't worry for my life. I feel like these people are cowards, and I feel like they're the type of people who are more likely to attack your home when you're not there, and send you threats in the mail and come to your house and give you false accusations. My sweet lady, she worries, but I just think these people, that they will continue to torment and harass, but I have this belief that they can only really kill if you're kind of in their club and you break the oath, or you've signed on the dotted line with them and accepted one of their jobs that catapults your income bracket and your fame, and I don't have to worry about those things because I haven't done that. So I guess that's my take on it.
Got you. Well, I'm sorry you had to deal with that, but I appreciate that you still continue to push forward, man. That's absolutely amazing. I haven't gotten to that point yet, and I'm sure it will happen, because here at Talk Junkies, we talk about anything and everything, man. I mean, nothing's left there's nothing left on the table, man. We'll talk about it all, but I'll finish it with two more questions, man, if you're cool with that. What are your thoughts on the Jeremy Epstein?
Mr. Epstein. You just called him Jeremy. His name's not Jeremy, is it? It's Jeffrey, right?
Jeffrey. Yeah, sorry.
Jeffrey. Yeah, I was like, wait, is his name Jeremy?
I don't listen to news very much, so.
Yeah, so Jeremy, so we'll call him Jeremy Epstein. I like that name. He died on Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av's 2 days. It's August 10th and August 11th, and that's the Jewish day of tragedy. And, you know, he was a Jewish man, and again, this code of letters and numbers is very much Jewish. Comes from Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah. So he died 202 days after his birthday, right? 202. And what's interesting is Skull and Bones equals 202, and Skull and Bones has a lot of influence in the world, from politics to media to sports. Bonesmen are all over in high places. And as far as I know, Epstein himself didn't go to Yale, so I don't think he was actually in Skull and Bones, but from what I understand is he was said to be a member of intelligence and probably the CIA, and Bonesmen have run the CIA before, including George Herbert Walker Bush. So he died 202 days after his birthday. Skull and Bones equals 202. The name Jeffrey Edward Epstein, his full name, equals 322, which is the number of Skull and Bones, because their building number at Yale is 322. In 2005, the election was between Bush and Kerry, and they were both members of Yale Skull and Bones. Tim Russert asked about, you know, what are the odds that both of you are in this tiny little secret society and you're the two front runners, and what is it about 322? And neither of them would answer. Tim Russert ended up dying at age 58, that big Freemasonry number. George W. Bush also equals 58, so does the name Bush alone, 58. Tim Russert ended up dying at age 58 not long after, and they reported his time of death at 223, 223, 322 in reverse. But anyway, Jeffrey Edward Epstein, 322. Skull and Bones itself is a word written out in Gematria sums to 202. He died 202 days after his birthday. Now, Skull and Bones equals 202 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse. If you run the alphabetic order forwards, Skull and Bones equals 149. And the name of the prison he was at equals 149. So you got your two primary Skull and Bones numbers connecting to the location and the amount of days after Epstein's birthday, and then his name is 322, the most known Skull and Bones number. And there was a number of other things to it. From his death to his upcoming birthday, he died 202 days after his birthday, 163 days before his birthday. Jeffrey Epstein equals 163. So you see how nice that is? Dead 163 days before the upcoming birthday. And 163 is the 38th prime number. Death, murder, killing, RIP. They all sum to 38. If you look at the movie poster, Murder by Numbers, with Sandra Bullock, they only changed the E and the B from letters to numbers. They changed the E to a 3, the B to an 8, 3-8. Again, murder, death, killing, RIP. They're all 38. Epstein dead 163 days from his upcoming birthday, the 38th prime. If you know, I suspect that Jeffrey Epstein was a made-up name, a made-up personality, just another news story distraction, and something that's meant to give people false hope as it's done. There's people who believe in Q and Trump, and they think that, you know, somehow Trump's connected to his death and his arrest. And they're cleaning up the pedophilia in the elite ranks. And to me, I think that's a bunch of BS. I think they like to give certain people who are halfway awake false hope, and stories like Epstein are it. But I really think this whole Epstein story is just a big contrived circus. And I mean, look at what the Epstein story does. It brings in Clinton and it brings in Trump. So it brings in the two things, the two entities that people have been divided over for going on 5 years. Trump, Clinton, two hot buzzwords that provoke two different sets of people in an ongoing agenda of divide and conquer and this or that. And so anyway, those are my thoughts on Epstein.
Rock on, man. I like it. I mean, it's a good way to look at it. You know, I'll leave it with this last question, Zach. And I'm just curious, man. I'm not going to say I believe in the Matrix or the simulation theory, but it definitely entertains my brain. What are your thoughts on the simulation theory? And is it possible? I know Elon Musk talks about it a lot, and whether that holds any value or whatever. But I mean, I think it's plausible.
again, I'm someone who will say anything is possible. I don't say anything is impossible. I only know what I know, and that's not a lot. But it is really interesting, and it's a common question I get. People say, do you think your research is proof that we live in a simulation and this is simulation theory? And what I always say is it's possible. I personally don't want to think that we live in a simulation. I don't like that idea personally. So I'm biased against it in the fact that I don't like it. But
nothing like within your work that has, have you done like the gematria towards the name simulation or the word simulation or matrix? Are there any correlations that you're able to find within that?
I actually haven't done a lot of research on that subject. That's something I could do. That's something I will do. So I can't answer that off the top of my head. But just at the beginning, I said I would touch on the organic side of this.
Sure.
So we can close here, and maybe this is evidence of the simulation. So before I tell you this story, just understand, my parents don't know anything about this knowledge. They kind of think it's dumb. If I start to tell them about things, their eyes kind of gloss over, and they just want to... they'd rather talk about anything else than the research I'm sharing tonight. So, and they don't even think it's that interesting what I'm about to share with you. And to me, it's just so fascinating. So when I was first getting into this research, I was in a Borders bookstore, and I was going through the numerology section, and I was just like, again, I was in my information collecting phase, just trying to figure out what it was about this numbers thing. And I found this numerology book that it didn't even use the word gematria, but it just talked about name numerology and how to calculate your name numerology. And they introduced that cipher, the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, like we talked about in the beginning. You just make each letter a single digit number based on the alphabetic order. So like, for example, the first letter of my name, Zachary, is Z. Z is the 26th letter, but instead of adding 26, you add the numerology of 26. So Z is 2 plus 6 is 8. A, the next letter for Zachary. A is 1. C, the third letter. H, the 8th. A, the first. R, the 18th letter becomes 1 plus 8 is 9. So R is 9. Y, the 25th letter. 2 plus 5 is 7. So Y is 7. You just make each letter a single digit number. The author in that book said that if you write out your full name and get your number, you're going to see how your number connects to people who are in your life. And I was like, well, if my number should be connected to anybody, it should probably be connected to my parents. So let's see what's going on there. So I wrote out my dad's full name, I wrote out my mom's full name, I wrote out my full name, and I noticed my name and my dad's full name, they both summed to 89. And my mom's name didn't sum to 89, it summed to 62. Now 89 and 62 have numerology in common. 89 is 8 plus 9 is 17, 17 is 1 plus 7 is 8. So 89 breaks down to 8, 62 is 6 plus 2 is 8. But my mom, her birthday is September 8th. A date that's written 8/9 in the majority of the world. So I was like, wow, so my full name and my dad's full name are 89. My mom's birthday can be interpreted as 8/9. And then lo and behold, the next thing that I ended up connecting right after that was, I just had to look, because I remember my dad always thought it was so cool that the day I was born was the coldest recorded day in history. And if you do a web search right now, if you type in, what's the coldest day in recorded history, it'll come up July 21st, 1983. Happens to be the day I was born. And the record temperature that day was negative 89 Celsius. So I was like, now that's too wild. So the record temperature that day is the same number that connects the three of us, and that just happens to be the day I was born. And I learned sometime after that 89 was a Fibonacci number. It was the 11th Fibonacci number. The Fibonacci number that comes after 89 is 144. And from my dad's birthday, April 18th, to my mom's birthday, September 8th, is a span of 144 days. So what else is a trip is if you just write my short name, Zach Hubbard, what most people have called me my whole life, what I wrote on my paper all the years growing up in school, Zach Hubbard. If you write out Zach Hubbard with the alphabetic order and Zach Hubbard with the alphabetic order and rules of numerology, it sums to 94 and 49. From my dad's birthday to my birthday is 94 days later, and from my birthday to my mother's birthday is 49 days later. So it's just like, stuff like that is just like, what in the world is going on? But yeah, it just makes you wonder. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to do that within my life and my parents and stuff like that. I need to look into it for sure. I appreciate you joining the show, man. How can people find you? How can people reach out? I'm going to definitely put your YouTube channel in the description below. But you've written a book. Are you able to find that on Amazon?
My book's only for sale in one place. It's been banned on multiple sites. I got one of these banned books out here. It's now for sale on Sells, and the easiest way to find it is if you get to my channel. If you do a web search for Gematria Effect News channel, it should pull up the channel, Gematria Effect News. Pretty much any video you're going to click on that's been made since my book was banned. My book was banned March 15th by two sites, which is the 74th day of the year, just using the alphabetic order. English 74, Gematria 74. The headquarters of the one company, the first company to ban it, is Brooklyn, New York, which equals 74. I'll just leave it there. But anyway, since then, pretty much every video I've made since then, I've linked the new place to get it, which is Sells. So if you go to a video that I've made in the last month, and you'll see the top pinned post, it's usually linking to get the book if I remember to post it. So it's also in the description of every video I make. If you go to the description part of the video, there's a link to get my book. But my book, I highly recommend that people do read my book. You know, you're like, of course we want you to buy your book, but look, you guys, I spent 5 years writing the book. I rewrote it several times. I wanted to make it, worth, everything to the reader, not waste anyone's time. The book's nearly 800 pages long. You do not have to read all 800 pages to get your money's worth. The book is only $5. It should be priced a lot higher. I priced it at $5 so everyone can afford it. And if you read the first 5 pages of that book, I guarantee you're going to feel like you got more than your money's worth. If you read the first 50 pages, you'll understand this knowledge and this research and this code really well if you read the first 50 pages. So,
rock on. Well, yeah, I definitely encourage anyone who's watching this video to definitely go out and buy that book. I'm going to do it myself. I might actually.
Well, you don't have to do it, man. Just maybe I can even attach it through Skype. But give me your email address on Skype, and I'll just send you a copy. I appreciate you doing the interview.
For sure. Yeah, thanks for joining, Zach. Have a good night, man. I definitely look forward to have you on. If you ever want to come on again, I'll hit you up. And I'm sure Jesse and Johnny would love to have you on and talk with you as well. So,
all right, man. All right. They should have done this interview before they did their fantasy draft. They could have really been up on things.
Oh yeah, you're right about that. Well, I got Deshaun Watson and Saquon Barkley, so hopefully they do me well this year. And Antonio Brown. So
all right, man. All right. Yeah.
All right.
Take care, man.
You too.
All right. Have a good night. All right, Truth Seeker. Thanks for the super chat, Bruco. I appreciate that. Very generous of you. And thanks everyone for being here. If I missed any super chats, I apologize, but I do appreciate the generosity. I don't know if there's any way to just load them up. So. Somebody says there's nothing wrong with being paid. Well, I do prefer to do this research for free, and I did do it for free for 5 years. And for doing it for free, nothing's free. I had to pay the bills. I had to pay all my bills during that time while I was dedicating all my time and energy to getting this knowledge out there. And I had savings in the bank to make it possible, but then I ran out of money. And I've still put out a ton of knowledge for free. It's not like anyone has to pay to get the content I put out. But if you do want to pay, there are some extra things I offer, like sports picks and a book and all that. So, you know what I'm going to do real quick while I'm still on this live stream? I'm going to address something. I was thinking about letting this go, but I'm going to address something real quick. I'm not real happy about this. I don't like being slandered. The people who are putting on Anarchadelphia, or the man in charge. So first of all, I want to let people know that Anarchadelphia, they do want to get this knowledge out there. So they booted me from the event, and they've invited Derek in my place. I'm happy that Derek's going to be there, and he's going to be spreading the knowledge. And I hope Derek does a good job. I think Again, for people who don't know, Derek is who built this website. Derek's the person who found this work years ago and thought I was a crazy person, and he was going to prove that I was crazy, but instead he ended up proving that, wow, this code is relevant and it's amazing, and he got inspired and he built this website. So the man who built this website is now who's going to speak at Anarchadelphia. So Derek will be there, and I know he's going to do a workshop. I don't know if he's going to use the hour time slot that I had to introduce this knowledge. Hopefully he is. But I had to check out the interview that he did with the guy who booted me. I just wanted to see how Derek was going to present the information. Because I do like Derek's work that he does, but what Derek does is he misses the very simple and repetitive patterns that are so easy to introduce to people and to get them to practice this knowledge and see on the regular how the code is used. And he goes for more complex things and uses the bigger ciphers, and he really makes this knowledge look a lot more complicated than it needs to be. And I know Derek believes that he's taking the research to a new level, and but sometimes I'm not so sure myself. I'm thinking a lot of stuff looks like coincidence, because you're like saying if you reshuffle these numbers and if you do, it's just like you're having to manipulate too many things to make your patterns fit. Whereas if you just stick to the base ciphers and how redundantly certain numbers are used in certain things, it's just a lot easier to understand and a lot more relevant, in my opinion. It's like Derek will do a video on a shooting where 44 is coded all over it, and he won't even touch on the 44. He'll connect it to a solar eclipse from 2 years ago. It's like, okay, is that really what's going on here? Is it connected to the solar eclipse by using these 4 ciphers and dropping the 0 here and reshuffling this number here? Or is it that they coded 44 all over another shooting on another 44 date type of thing? So, anyway, it's okay. Derek has his own mind. He's doing things his own way. But I just think sometimes he makes this research look very complicated and very possibly coincidental. And I noticed in this interview, Pat, when he's gone to him, kept saying, yeah, that could be a coincidence. That kept being a coincidence. And Derek did just like nod his head and just go along and was like, but anyway, that's exactly what's wrong with Derek's research. Anyway, let me just show you what happens in this video. I caught this and I just said, it was somewhere right around here. I'm just going to put this on. We're going to listen for a minute. And then I'm going to address what is said here.
It's an interesting thought, I guess. I mean, we are certainly more accustomed to disasters like mass shootings and stuff. And, we've had Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Sandy, all these mass death incidents.
Well,
so it would certainly mean less, yeah.
With the rise of all of this evil, for lack of a better term, actually, somebody said this to me today. Like, the more that we speak the truth and bring the light out, the more that the darkness will bring people towards us, because we're really the light. There is the dark. We're light workers, so the dark workers will show up.
Oh yeah, it's like the more effort we put in. I mean, we saw it quickly with the Gematrinator. I mean, not to take too much credit for it, but after my calculator went online, this Gematria really started to blow up even bigger. And within 4 or 5 months, they deleted Zach's channel for the first time. And we always thought that they would never actually delete his channel because all he's doing is just doing math. And they still had the gall to do it. And then they deleted it like 17 more times.
Yeah,
and to me, it's like, how can people see this and not have an understanding of how important this is?
Zach takes a much more practical approach to it, and he has spent a lot of time figuring out, like, identifying false flags with Gematria. No question. However, he doesn't get into like the esoteric side of things or the organic side of things, or like the astrological impacts to these numbers and language. He doesn't talk about all that.
So, do you hear what he just said? All of that's false. I don't get into the organic side of things. I've been talking about the organic side of things since I first started doing videos in the summer of 2014. I've been talking about the organic side of things since before I even made videos on my blog in 2013. False. From the beginning, I've shown how I have limited understanding of astrology, but I can still see how this fits in with astrology, and I've been preaching the same thing since 2013. that if I had someone with a greater astrology understanding, there would be a lot more dots connected. So I've been calling for that for like literally 6 years. And I talk about this all the time. So it's like, okay, you invited me, you researched me and invited me to your event, and then you're going to go on the record making a statement that's not even true. Like, he's trying to downplay. It's just a completely false statement. So anyway, we're just going to go on here and listen to some more.
He talks shit about my speakers and me. That's why he's not coming anymore.
Yeah, I saw.
So, and then he cuts into, I talk shit about his speakers and him. Well, it's false that I ever talk shit about him. What I did do is I talked shit about Derek Bros because he came and attacked my work over Epstein and said it was coincidence and nonsense and silly. I mean, for people who know what happened, I showed Derek Bros' comments and called him out for being an idiot. Derek Bros is the same person that said, Jeffrey Epstein might be dead because the media showed a picture of him on a stretcher where his skin looked a little bit blue. So it's like, okay, that's your depth of analysis. You're gonna believe the image put before you in the media and just dismiss all my work as coincidence, And Derek Bros and I were supposed to be on the stage together. Why do I want to share the stage with an idiot who's going to attack my work and say it's coincidental? And at the same time, Derek Bros is a guy who legitimizes every mainstream news story. So if Anarchadelphia would rather have Derek Bros at their conference, who disses this work, and who legitimizes the mainstream media, and who's also running for mayor and attending an anarchy conference, then, whatever. That's fine. But the thing is, and then the other person I called out was Mark Passio, and I called out Mark Passio for good reason. I have reason to, I can call out Mark Passio if I want. Mark Passio gets on his podcast every day and puts down everyone in the truth community and says he's the only one doing anything and no one else is doing anything and it's him, and everybody else is little boys and girls. And he talks about what a big man he is, but then he goes on the Alex Jones show and just shills away with Alex Jones and doesn't stand up for anything that he preaches. So I can call him out for that. He should be called out for that. That's called having balls. And I knew that I was going to see Mark Passio in Anarchadelphia. If he had a problem with it, I'd let him know to his face that he needs to stop calling people little boys and girls. Because he's calling me a little boy and girl every time he does that. And sometimes it actually does feel like he's talking specifically about my work. In the middle of his rants, he'll say, I'm not just some little boy crunching numbers, blaming everything on masonry. I mean, who is he actually talking about when he makes that statement, which he said probably 5 times in the last 5 months? Who is he talking about? So anyway, I had reason to say what I did say. To me, it was fair game. And it wasn't really talking shit. It was more like just stating facts. Now, with regards to Pat, I didn't say anything about him. All that happened was a bunch of people reached out and said, we don't like the interview you did with Pat, Zach. He was staring at you funny. It seemed like he was disinterested in your work. It looked like he was glaring at you. And after, hearing that message from about 100 different people through text, phone call, email, I said, that's when it came up on my Wednesday night radio show. It came up, a caller called in and said the same thing, and I said, well, man, a lot of people reached out and said the same thing. I kind of felt the same way. I said, if you noticed during the interview, I was looking away from the camera, I was looking down because I just felt like he was glaring at me and I didn't know what it was all about. So, anyway, he says that's talking shit about him. And he's not being honest because he can even see the comments on his own video, which he deleted. The comments left on my video, which shared the interview. The caller who called in. So it's not just that the way that I felt and described the way I felt about that interview, which I only brought up because 100 other people did. It's not like it was just... It wasn't talking shit. It was just stating the facts. But hold on, I want to play a little bit more of this. I don't appreciate Derek, just kind of like going along and just like agreeing with this stuff. But I'm just going to let Derek go because he built the calculator. But I just wanted you to hear a little bit more of what Pat Leach has to say, not this guy, this is Derek. The other guy's Pat. But so we'll just play a little bit more of this because I want to address a few more things Pat says.
Saw some of that. I don't want to get too involved with it. I wouldn't have the following I have if it weren't for Zach. So he saw my work, my first video, and he put it on his channel immediately.
Yeah, he supported us as well. I don't understand why he did that to himself. You know, he just. I heard him talk. I heard it from through the grapevine he was like downing on Passio. Then I heard that he was downing on Derek Rose, and then I watched a video. He was downing on me.
So I'm going to let you guys know something. Pat Leach heard from somebody else that I was making fun of his appearance and I was making fun of the way he dressed. And that is why he uninvited me from the event. Now, he heard that through the grapevine, which wasn't true. I never made a single comment about his appearance or the way he dresses. But see, he was all angry about that. And that is what got him to uninvite me from the event. Because he heard that I was talking about his appearance, which is completely false. Never said a single thing about his appearance anywhere. So he didn't do his own research. He reacted to false information. And I'm going to show you in his own words, what he's done. So he's acting like he has some high ground. We'll look at the reality of this situation here.
And he called me 3 days before this. And he was like, I don't really know if I want to come out to Philly. My house is getting vandalized. Words from my girl. I'm like, dude, I just promoted the shit out of you.
So, and let me clarify that too. He just totally changed the context of what was said. I said, look, Pat, is there any way that we could, do like a live stream instead of me be at the event? Because I said, my house has recently been vandalized. I've been dealing with threats for years. My girl's worried about it. She doesn't want to be here alone. And without even thinking or responding, he just said, no, you need to be here. And I said, okay, I understand. And I said, I do want to be there. It's just, this has come up. I didn't foresee the vandalism. It's just triggered some things from the past. He didn't care about any of that. He wasn't sympathetic to any of that. And at the end of that conversation, I said, okay, I'll be there. So he's making it seem like something else was said. The dude is shady. I'll show you his own remarks here in a moment.
Put you all over everything. You're a part of this. Got you an Airbnb, ready to go. And he was like, he said on his live stream, they're supposedly going to pay me back for travels.
See, I hear Derek laughing in the background, which I don't appreciate. This guy didn't have anything scheduled. He didn't have dates. He didn't have times. He didn't communicate anything, when to be there. He's saying he's going to reimburse us after the fact. They're having trouble selling tickets because the event's overpriced. I mean, why shouldn't I say supposedly? I don't know that they're really going to pay back. So, I mean, the guy has not done a good job organizing the event or communicating things or having things done in advance, locations, times. So, anyway.
Dude, you need to be like my ally right now. It takes a lot to put one of these things on. I'm giving you a platform. You're like the OG of Gematria. And you're going to fucking bash on it like that? So,
I mean, yeah, he and I have had our differences about, what we take on Gematria and what we think is going on. He kind of froze me out on one of his shows back in February. And, and then he went on another podcast.
What Derek's referring to there is at the time, Derek was telling people that, maybe other people in the Gematria study have kind of made this all a conspiracy when everything's organic. That was the message that Derek was preaching at the time, that all of this stuff we're seeing in the news is organic. It's just the universe. None of this is manipulation. And I didn't appreciate him saying that. Obviously, not everything that's done in the media is organic. So I'm a direct person. Derek's putting that out. I responded to that. I said, no, all of this isn't organic. There's an organic side of the code. And, I like Derek, but Derek's kind of soft. Derek is a man that has a cat for a pet. And that's okay, but, more masculine men don't have cats, just to be straight up about things, okay? It's more than a stereotype. Masculine dudes don't have cats. Derek got a little soft because he did get way too hurt. And I saw he was hurt right away, so I reached out to him and said, hey, man, I'm not trying to upset you. And Derek's he even says at the end of this thing that he's been salty. He has been salty. And my criticism of what Derek was doing was perfectly justified. Derek, in his own words on his own shows that he was doing, was pretty much dissing me and telling people at one point, which he's now gone against that. He doesn't think the same way anymore. But at that time, he was essentially saying to people, Zach's made you all think that it's a conspiracy. It's probably all just organic. I was just like, are you kidding me, man? Really? Marquise McLaughlin. Oh my God, just so many of these stories. So anyway, so here's Derek.
He went on that Tinfoil Hat podcast with Sam Tripoli, and for some reason he never mentioned the calculator. Like, he could have just told him to go to my website and type the stuff.
And it's like, really, Derek, you're going to cry about this stuff? I mean, I promote your calculator a million times. The reason the thing has traffic and is known about is because of the work I do. And it's linked everywhere. It's linked in every video I do. I mean, it's just like, it's like, okay, so this guy here is falsifying what's happened. And the thing is, Derek actually does know what happened. So Derek, Derek's being agreeable. But now he's also like building on and being like, yeah, Zach's kind of like shortchanged me too. It's like, dude, bullshit. You want me to put something out there? Derek's been looking for a woman for the entire time I've known him, right? And there was this attractive woman, and she used to email me all the time, and she said how much she loved my work and how much she wanted to meet, and I would always say to her, I'd say, look, I love that you love the work, but I'm in a relationship, and I said my lady wouldn't like for us to meet, and it just wouldn't be appropriate. But I said, you know what? There's another guy. He's getting into this study. He's into it too. He's looking for a relationship right now. And it was Derek. And I set them up on a date, and they had a little thing going for a while. I mean, I've been nothing but a good guy to Derek. So I don't appreciate this moment right here. I got to be perfectly honest. I've done nothing but promote Derek and say good things about Derek. I called him out one time because he was starting to tell everybody that the whole code was organic and there was no conspiracy. And I mean, you know what, to be perfectly real, people are always messaging and emailing me saying that, they don't like some of the things Derek's been saying in the last year in his videos. And it's kind of clear what Derek tries to do sometimes. Derek takes the things that I've discovered and tries to make it seem like it's him. He even does it later in this video. He's like, I've advanced the research. I've shown how politicians are synced up with the shootings. And I'm just like, Derek, to be real, man, I've been showing that since 2014 and 2015, 2 years before you even got here. To be perfectly honest, what Derek brought to this study was the calculator. He hasn't really revolutionized anything beyond that. And I'm just going to be straight up about that. Derek hasn't really brought, and even connecting things to eclipses. Where did that idea came from? I showed how Chris Cornell's death was synced up with the total solar eclipse. Since then, Derek started to connect every single story to solar eclipses. It made sense with Chris Cornell. He was known for a song about a black hole sun. Does it make sense to connect every single thing to an eclipse like it's the only astrological event in the world? No, it's not. And I'm not sure that connecting everything to an eclipse is advancing the research as much as it's making, things seem a little bit silly. But anyway, it just, for what I've done for Derek, and as good as I've been to him, and every time he's needed someone to talk to, I've been there, to go on here and just kind of like get chippy with this guy who he doesn't even know, this guy who's just trying to sell tickets for $350 and kind of just like agree with the lies and then start like acting like I've done something that he should be. I mean, it's weak, man. And honestly, I'm just going to be real about the way I think. Derek works for General Electric. And General Electric's struggling right now. The way I've been thinking is I'm trying to turn this into a business, and who's going to be the first person to been hired? In my mind, I've been thinking Derek is probably one of the most, worthy people to be hired first if I'm going to hire another employee to help me out. But after watching this, it's like, well, I think some people just climbed the ladder. You know what I mean? So
people could see it would have made the presentation a hell of a lot better. And he ignored my website.
And listen to that remark. It would have made the presentation a hell of a lot better if I mentioned his website calculator. I'm not even sure that I didn't bring it up. But, I mean, most people who've seen the Sam Tripoli interview, they really like that interview. He makes it seem like it could have been so much better. Oh, man. So, somebody needs a reality check.
The whole time. And it's like at the time I was suggesting that one of these deaths was organic, and
anyway, fuck him. So, yeah. So,
and then you hear Pat Leach in the background. Fuck him. Okay, let's see who Pat Leach is. Let's look at Pat Leach. So, let me see. Let me show you in the words of Pat Leach. Let me show you how he uninvited me from this event here. So, this is how I found out that I wasn't invited. Well, actually, the way I found out that I wasn't invited first was from Rich, who runs Daily Dose. He sent me a text message and said, "What's up, man? Pat just told me that he kicked you out of the event." And I was like, well, I don't know. I hadn't heard anything. So I went on Facebook, and I noticed that I had this message from Pat, and he wrote, "I'm removing you from the scheduled event, and we're not interested in remote live stream." I asked him if that was something we could do days earlier when I said my lady was kind of freaked out about me leaving since the house had been vandalized. And realize, I mean, wouldn't a decent person be like, "Dude, that sucks that your house was vandalized and that she's in fear"? He didn't express anything about that. He didn't even care at all. He's just like, "No, you need to be here at my event." And I get where he's coming from, but I mean, like, seriously, dude, you can't acknowledge that my house just got vandalized? I've been through a lot of shit. So anyway, he writes, "I didn't appreciate the way you went about recapping our interview, and I'm aware of your tension with some of my speakers. It's best if you stay home. Thanks for your time. Peace." So, I just responded back. I just said, "No problem. Good luck with the event. And for the record, a lot of people reached out and got a bad vibe from you on the interview. I'm a no bullshit type of person, so I'm always going to be honest about things." And he writes back, "I don't know why. I wasn't bullshitting you at all. I thought our interview was cool." For people who haven't seen our interview, here, let me find our interview real quick. Zachary, or let's see. Gematria, Effect, and Arkadelphia. Let's see. See if I can find it. That didn't pull it up, huh? State of Anarchy. I don't know why that didn't pull up the video. Okay. Well, I'll just have to show you another time. But anyone who's seen the video, they know exactly what's wrong with it. It's him just like glaring. Like, see, with Derek, he seems kind of personable. With me, he just sits there, like just sits there silent with like this stare, and not a pleasant stare. So if you watch the interview, you can find it somewhere on my channel. You'll see how off this guy is. I mean, it's not normal. And multiple people have called in my Wednesday radio show. And just read the comments when you find that video. So anyway, he writes back, he says, "I don't know why I wasn't bullshitting you at all. I thought our interview was cool." It didn't seem like he enjoyed the interview at all. It seemed like he was totally disinterested and angry about something. And then he wrote, "I'm trying to provide a platform for several truth tellers, not people who talk shit about each other's." And again, the things I said were justified. I had one person attacking my work, which is actually important, where theirs isn't. And that's just the reality of the situation. Is why that person has almost no following. And the other person deserved to get called out. That person gets on his platform and talks about how he's the big bad man and everybody else is a little boy and girl. And then he went on there on, Alex Jones and just showed that he's a complete phony. So anyway. So then he writes, "No, bro." So anyway, I wrote back, "I only talk shit if it is justified, but I got you and I don't blame you. You made a fair decision." So I was just like, whatever, man. Because honestly, at this point, I really didn't care that I wasn't going. I got to be honest about things. I mean, my lady was freaking out. This guy was coming across his ass. So I was just like, I guess it's just a blessing I'm not going to this thing at this point. But then he wrote back, "No, bro, you're still talking shit publicly. You're a fake little pussy." And I'm just like, okay, what is that statement? I'm not talking shit anywhere. I've already done what I've done. I called out Derek Bros, more than a week before this happened. I called out Mark Passio more than a week before this happened. And I'm not talking shit anywhere. I'm not even spreading this information at the time. But now I see this guy, he's leaving comments around and he's going and saying this stuff in the interview. And here, look at this. So you come down here and you see this guy right here, Tyler Clayton. He's favorited this guy's comment, right? Who Tyler Clayton is he's one of the paid-for trolls that lives on my Patreon 24/7, 365. He's a guy who about 8 months ago called in and just started screaming the N-word into the phone. So this guy's a paid-for troll that just hangs around everywhere. Any video ever made about me, Tyler Clayton's commenting, writing some bogus bullshit. So he writes, "It's sad and honestly pathetic that Zach thought you were looking at him weird." And again, pretty much everyone thinks that. You know, how many hundreds of people have communicated the exact same thing? So it's not just that I thought, it's that almost everyone who watched the video thought that during your interview with him. And realize this guy is a troll, a paid-for operative. This is his job. He does this 24/7, 365. His job is to harass me around the clock and the people who follow me. That is what this man's career is. Literally. So then he writes, that shows what Zach is. I'm glad he bitched out, aka he said you disinvited him, which we all know isn't true. So it's like, and then look, this Pat guy comes and favorites this comment. He did literally uninvite me from the event, you know. That's how it ended up happening. He uninvited me, and he favorites this comment. So, okay. Zach is a smart guy, but he's an unnatural fake person. Yeah, this is coming from a troll whose job is to harass me every single day. And think about that. I have multiple people who are paid, and all they do for their life is sit on my blog, my Patreon, my YouTube channel, and just post shit all day, every single day. Literally, like, there are an army of people employed where their job is to just target me every single day. If only I had an army of people working for me like this, which is the goal. He would have ruined your event. Derek has the knowledge you need, and he's a straight-up good guy. Zach doesn't like people to question him. He's a sociopath, pathological liar. There's a guy who literally writes lies about me all day, and then another liar comes along and favorites the thing. And he writes, agreed, we're so happy to have Derek. So I wrote, so you agree with a lie that you know is not true, Pat? You did uninvite me. And by the way, Tyler Clayton is one of the paid-for trolls that lives on my Patreon and follows me everywhere posting negative statements that are false. Your favoriting this comment reveals the truth about your nature. You are a fraud. For anyone who wants to know the truth, look at how Pat removed me from the event through Facebook Messenger like a coward. So, anyway. I just got to call spades, and, you know, Derek, he made a video. Again, I'm glad that Derek's going to speak at Anarchadelphia because it's better for the knowledge to be put out than not be put out at all. But I don't like that Derek's going about things in a shady way. Like, he's just not being honest about things. And I don't like that he's getting buddy-buddy with trollish types of people. So anyway, Derek probably will see this, and I just want Derek to know that, I mean, you lost a lot of trust by doing this. Not going to the event, but just not being honest about things and, you know, piling on the slanders. So I just want, listen to how Derek says that I'm just not going to show up at the event anymore. He doesn't really say what happened. And realize being, like, you know, politically or just, you know, taking a stance like this, it's...
Hey, everybody. Thanks for popping in. This is Derek. Today's August 24th, 2019, and I just wanted to make a little announcement today. Let everybody know that I will be speaking at Anarchadelphia next month on Friday, September 13th. And unfortunately, Zach Hubbard can't make it out there. So there'll still be some Gematria workshops there.
See, I mean... Say what really happened. Don't say I can't make it out there, you know. Okay, so I don't want to talk about that anymore, but I got to put the facts out on the table, and sometimes it's better for things to actually happen, because I was thinking, like, if anything goes on with GE, if Derek lost his job, I would help him out. And now I'm just like, well, maybe I'm not going to do that. There's other people who are more loyal, and honestly, there's other people in this community. Derek did build the calculator, which was a revolutionary act for this thing, but for the better part of the last year, he has not been very helpful, to be perfectly honest. And if you look at all the people who comment on his videos, which aren't many, they're all the people who troll my work as well, which is something else that's real strange to me. You know, it's like, why is it that all the people that hang out at Derek's channel are the people who troll my work? It's like, why are those his subscribers? He's got that homeless lady over there who I gave a platform on my radio show. She's always commenting every day that nobody allows her to speak out. It's like, well, why would they? I let you speak out about your ideas for an hour on my radio show, and then after that you began making videos that I was a shill. I mean, you've been commenting everywhere that I'm a shill after I gave you an hour to speak on my radio show. The other guy that always hangs out on his channel is Bartley Gerba, who I took out to eat 2 times, and after the second time I took him out, he ordered everything on the menu. I didn't have any money at the time. But I was just trying to be a nice guy to him, and then he goes and starts making videos calling me a shill too. I'm like, dude, seriously? I took you out to eat 2 times, paid for all your bills? You just ordered everything last time, and now you're going to make videos saying I'm a shill? And these are the people who hang out on Derek's channel. So I just been kind of looking at Derek like, what is actually really going on with Derek? I mean, some people think he's an operative. I have trouble believing that, because if he was, why would he have built the calculator? But sometimes he just makes me raise my eyebrow. So... For the person who says I don't have a job, you're wrong about that, man. I got a job. I work all day, every day. I've been working nonstop this weekend and still putting out content for you guys. And I got to keep working tonight. I still got stuff to do. I'm not done with what I was supposed to be done with this weekend. Caller?
Hey, Zach. How's it going? This is Jason from Minneapolis.
What's up, man?
Not much. Hey, you know what? Zach, his channel, his Gematrinator, you know, I mean, as much as it is helpful for all of us and everything, but he wouldn't have any of the knowledge, he wouldn't have any of the traffic, or any of that shit if it wasn't for you. So you need to, you know, remember that. So it really does suck, dude, that he's like turned and, you know, basically pulled bitch.
Well,
you know?
so just to be blunt, I mean, so honestly, I'm not surprised. I want to say some things, but I know he's sensitive. It's like the word bitch, and sorry, women. I mean, we use that with women. I mean, the dude is kind of feminine. He has a cat. He can't keep a woman. I don't want to embarrass him with the story about the lady I hooked him up with, but like, part of me thinks dude needs to come out of the closet, and I think that's kind of why I'm seeing the catty behavior from him right now. So
that's funny. I mean, I guess I'm not familiar with him enough to even know any of that, but I just think it's fucked up that as soon as the good, glossy opportunity comes, he's turning on you when you developed his ass. I mean, seriously, dude, there's no other way to look at it. You gave him the knowledge. He built the site on the knowledge you gave him. You gave him the traffic because, Zach, let's be honest. Everybody listening right now, well, except for the trolls, everybody else listening, they appreciate what you give everybody. And when I say give everybody, I'm talking from myself, dude. I mean, I got a busy life. I'm a single guy. I'm let's just say a bachelor. You know, I mean, I play the game, but I got a lot of work to do. I got bills to pay. I got shit to pay for, so I don't have all the time to do all that. You know what I mean? You've taught me a lot. You know that you've taught me a lot, even if I'm wrong about some of the things that I've talked to you about. I've understood the knowledge, and when I watch your videos, I mean, some of the things about like the Portland cop and stuff like that just recently. I mean, it's eye-opening. It doesn't matter. When the biblical shit comes out, it's eye-opening. I mean, my eyes are wide open, dude. My jaw's hanging when I watch your videos. And you give that guy the traffic. All these people listening, they're listening because of the work that you bring. It ain't because of the calculator.
Sure. I'm always going to appreciate Derek for building the calculator. I mean, it helped a lot.
I mean, I do too, Zach. But you brought him all that traffic. It's the people that caught your work online, and they watched it, and they were intrigued by it, and then they went to the calculator, whether it was to type in their name or just some stupid shit or whatever. You're the one that brought all the traffic to him. So for him to turn on you like that, man, and diss you, that's fucked up, dude.
Dude, and in the back of my mind, I keep thinking, I'm like, dude, I hooked you up with a good-looking woman who was into this research, and you squandered that too, man. So don't. I mean,
Hook
shit.
me up with her. I live in Minneapolis. I have to make schedules, but you know, I mean, I don't know. It's fucked up. Just watching this video has got me irritated. And this Anarchadelphia guy, I mean, I don't know who this dude he thinks he is, wearing his hat sideways, thinking he's some tough guy glaring at you and shit like that. I mean, the dude, he just looks like a little bitch.
He keeps calling me a pussy too. He's called me like a pussy now through the text message and the instant message, and just like, okay, keep calling me a pussy online. I might show up in Philadelphia anyway. You call me pussy one more time. So
Right, dude. You know, I mean, hey, invite that guy to Minneapolis. Straight up, dude. I'll be right there. He wants to call somebody a pussy, wants to get somebody's face. He can get in my face before he can come at you. And you'll watch that dude get his ass beat. I mean, the dude looks like a little chump. Look at his shoulders. He looks like a girl. And he's got his fucking hat cocked sideways. It's like, dude, take off the hat. It might make your fucking shoulders look more broad. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, I mean, I don't know. I ain't trying to get all nasty on your thing here, but, you know, you got all my support, dude. You know that. And I know most of the people listening, unless they're trolling you, you got their back. They got your back, too. Because you're the one that's bringing the knowledge. He brought a calculator. You bring the knowledge every day. That's all there is to it, dude. There's nothing else to say. Game over.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
Right on, man. I'll talk to you again soon. But I'll let you get back to your rant. And I want to keep hearing it, dude. Rant on, baby.
I really should be doing other work right now, but I have to get it out of my system. All right, thanks, man. You have a good night.
Get it out of your system, Zach.
All
Have
right.
a good night, man.
All right, take care. Caller?
What's up, man?
What's up? You're on.
Hey, man. So tell me what happened. This is Demetrius from Chicago. You're not going to the Philadelphia?
No, they kicked me out of the event.
How did it go down?
I was disinvited through Facebook Messenger. Yeah.
I thought that your whole issue was with your girlfriend and all that stuff first, and then they kicked you out.
Well, I was having that issue, but I still at that point I was intending to go because I'd been invited and said I was going to go. So, but the reason I didn't go is because I was uninvited from the event.
Okay, I gotcha. Oh, I heard it the other way around, but
Well, I just showed it on the screen how I found out I wasn't going through his message. Should I put it up again?
yeah, put it up there one more time.
Yeah, so this is how it was. It was through Facebook Messenger. Pat Leach, it's his event. Notice he's got the checkerboard floor too. I wonder if dude's a Mason, but he just sent the message. He wrote, "I'm removing you from the scheduled event, and we're not interested in a remote live stream." So.
I gotcha. And then the Derek took your place, or?
Well, they invited Derek. I think they invited Floey first, but Floey couldn't go, and then they invited Derek. So.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's how I was calling up to check up on that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, and it's okay. It's like I said, after I got canceled from the event, I'm thinking, well, I'll just take matters into my own hands. So the website's getting built right now. By the way, the web developer thinks he's going to be done in a month. He doesn't think it's going to take 2 months. He says he thinks he'll be done in a month. So we should have our site to build our community. And that site is going to run on a smartphone application as well. And I'm going to make the cost of everything free. So because you guys have invested in my work this past year, I'm going to invest in this. And you guys, this is costing me a lot of money. I'm not even going to say how much the price tag is on this thing, but it's expensive. But I want it to be awesome, and I want it to be successful, and I want it to really get people inked up and working together. So it's coming. Caller?
What's up? It's Rich from Daily Dose.
What's up, man?
I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in on a couple topics that you're talking about. When Pat first contacted me to say you were disinvited, I didn't know that you didn't know yet. But I sat there and talked to him for like 30 minutes, telling him everything that you said, and then of course he just kept calling you a pussy and saying you shouldn't have talked about his speakers and stuff like that. I was telling him till I was blue in the face that those people talk shit about you first, and are you not supposed to stick up for yourself? And the other part is, like, this is my opinion. You know, with Derek, I mean, this is just about how other truth speakers always attack you. It's because your work is so great and so unique that it's a jealousy thing. They want to put themselves over. It's all about, people are not selfless these days. It's all about me. I want to be the hero. You know, stuff like that. So I think he's sold out now. He's getting a spot on Philadelphia, however you pronounce it, and he wants to shine, and he's selling you out, bro. That's my opinion. So.
Well, it's really going to cost him, man. So, I mean, it's okay, because now I see. I was already kind of seeing the true colors, but now I definitely see him. So, yeah, I mean, he made a poor mistake. So anyway, it is what it is.
Well, he sees you being successful, you know, and he probably, I could see where he'd want to be right up there with you. Well, he could be if he wants to. You know what I mean?
Well, I've told him for.
I work for you, bro.
I've told him for a long time what he needs to do with his research, and he gets mad. He's like, because the thing about Derek is, I mean, all of us have egos, but for me, it's just easy to see Derek's ego when he's presenting his work, because he's claiming things that he didn't discover as his discoveries, and I don't even want it to be about that, but it's just like, dude, you're not who did that. I mean, you're taking what you learned from me, and
absolutely,
he does it all the time, and. You know, he even does it, if you watch that whole live stream, he says he's the one who figured out they were connected to politicians. I'm like, man, I've been showing that since 2 years before you even got here. What are you talking about? But
it's all about putting himself over, bro. He wants to be the one that's shining. This whole time, he could have been cutting videos with you.
Well, so that's the other thing. So that's the other thing he says in that video. He says he doesn't make as many videos as me because he only makes a video if he feels that it's going to further the research. And it's like, okay, I'm not... So it's like, well, dude, the reason I work so hard is because every day I know that somebody else new is going to come across this, and I'm trying to get it out there. So it's just like, yeah, he made a lot of disappointing remarks if you watch that whole video, but
yeah.
Anyway, so it is what it is.
Pat even tried to ask me if I'm still going to Anarchadelphia. I'm like, well, if Zach ain't going, I'm sure not going, you know? And it's like, then you're sitting here calling you a pussy and shit to me. And it's just like, it just totally turned me off the guy. I did like the guy at first, and he's acting like he can sit here and say critique your work. The guy didn't do a thing about it.
Right, and he's saying, he's making statements about my work. Exactly, he's making statements about my work that is completely false. And then Derek's nodding his head and saying, yeah, and I'm just like, come on, Derek, seriously? So...
If we introduce you to this stuff with your 9/11 Pentagon video, if someone's really never seen that, they don't know crap about your work.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm giving you the introductory Pentagon 77th birthday. This is kindergarten for you. Here, watch this video and get back to me, and I'll send you another. I mean, that's kind of what I do to new people that come on the daily dose every day. So he didn't know nothing about this work. And then Pat's listening to this. Hey, man, I liked you, but calling Zach a pussy and talking shit after I spent a half hour telling you that people attacked him first. Obviously, if someone attacks Pat, he's going to stick up for himself clearly because he feels attacked by you, right? So what? You're not allowed to stick up for yourself? I told him at least 6 times that's why you talk crap about those guys. So he didn't want to listen. He was set in his mind. So.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, he's entitled to make his decision. It's his event. But what I don't appreciate is him going out and falsifying the record, and acting like he didn't uninvite me. I mean, that's a coward move, too. It's like, dude, you kicked me out of the event. Don't go act like it wasn't you. So...
Yeah, he uninvited you. I mean, for some reason he told me before you, which makes no sense.
Right, right.
But I appreciate you letting me get my opinions on. I'm sure you got another caller or two, brother.
All right, take care, man. Appreciate it, Rich.
Thank you.
Caller?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point real quick. I'm shadow banned. I don't think that you guys banned me. I think that YouTube banned me. So I just wanted to let other people know that if you have a lot of highly classified, important information, they're probably going to do what they've done to me to the other people. And then also, the only thing I disagree with is that last week you had that guy call in, and then he said he didn't want to be like a vulture and pick off your work. That's why he wasn't using Gematria. And then I kind of feel like right now that Derek is obviously picking off your work, and then you're getting all over him. But so I just wanted to say maybe watch, like, don't isolate other truthers, even maybe they aren't giving out the best information, because it may make other people feel like, well, I don't want to touch the work because
no, you're confusing things. What I'm saying about Derek is claiming that he's discovered things and furthered the work and making it seem like, you know, when he makes a video, he's taking the work further, whereas I'm just doing redundant things that go nowhere, which is stuff that Derek even communicates in his own video and annoys people. And trust me, I have people reaching out to me all the time that it feels like Derek's talking shit about you in his videos, and I just ignored it because, like, I just like Derek walk on water because he built the calculator. But, you know, what he's doing right now, just agreeing with this guy who's, like, literally a douchebag and just nodding his head to lies, I mean, that's pissing me off, so.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. I was just saying, like, on this video, obviously we love the live videos, but we spent 20 minutes or whatever tearing them apart. So, yeah, you're completely correct on all that, but I'm just saying maybe, like, it's, like, time to move on or something. But I'm just like you. I could be, like, go on and on about it. So I appreciate the work. You've done a lot for me, by the way. You saved basically our lives around here. So, yeah, thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. All right, appreciate it, man. Take care.
Have a good one.
All right, see you. All right, I should get off, you guys. I'm supposed to be doing something else right now anyway. And, well, yeah, I just had to set the record straight. So, you know, I don't like when people are bitches and they make it seem like I'm the bitch. That annoys me. You know, I don't start the fights around here. So. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Have a good rest of your evening. Hopefully you enjoyed the interview. And until next time.